So I put it in the plane, kind of got an idea of how it sits and how it looks. And I'm thinking about this, so during the entire project time, I made all of this so I can cover it all in the alcantara. And I don't know why, actually I do know why, because if I wrap it around here, I'm gonna get stuck trying to do some finishing thing here. If I cut this to put a seam in to wrap the alcantara, I am going to weaken this. Anyway, it got me thinking of making this two-tone. So I think I'm actually gonna try and paint the top half and then do alcantara where that green line is, which is the same as the panel over here, which will be alcantara. It'll also help with wear and tear from the seat belt down here against, rather than paint is what I'm trying to say. It'll make wrapping all of this actually a lot easier. I do have also a thought of actually lowering this a little bit. So instead of the 3/4 inch that I have, making this maybe a 1/2 inch, which still gives you enough room to put stuff, and then having this actually painted and then an alcantara pad on top. Yeah. Trying to figure out the best course of action. All right, today I'm at my shop and it looks just as messy as my home. And this was actually closer to over an inch. Anyway, I brought this down to 7/8 and I might actually bring it down to 3/4 as well. So I redid that. While I was here, I also rounded over this edge since it's going to be painted. That'll look a lot nicer. So what I'm doing now is back to these, I'm trying to make some kind of divider, like a trim strip that goes along here. And I don't want to add any unnecessary weight to the panel. So I glued 2 pieces a 1/2 inch onto here. And I kind of want maybe a radius on one side that just, looks proper like it's meant to be. And then a small rabbet on the inside that I can tuck the alcantara underneath. This will be glued onto the console as the divider strip. So the idea is with a big rabbeting bit, roundover bit, I'm gonna try and see if I can achieve that radius. And then I'll probably run the inside through the table saw to get that cut out for the alcantara. All right, I'm kind of proud of myself. I don't know how far in I can go here, but that came out as good or even better than expected. I even went as far as rounding this over towards the bottom. So anyway, I made my own trim strip and I didn't even have to go to Amazon. And if you don't understand, this piece is basically going to be glued along here. Top will be painted, and then that little cutout here allows me to tuck the alcantara underneath and glue it so it just has a nice finished edge. All right, so we just got back from Oshkosh. Me and a buddy went out, we took our Piper Archer. Another crazy adventure. The longest arrival that I've ever done, it was all the way down the Endeavor Bridge and then 10 miles south of that. But we behaved, we did our 90 knots, good spacing, 1,800 feet, and they let us in. Taxied all the way down to the South 40, South 40, so we're in Never Never Land, but all good. Then the way out, it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, so close to 3 hours of taxiing, about 1,000 feet, shut down multiple times. And they were gonna taxi us from the South 40 all the way up to runway 27, which potentially could have been another several hours. And we got so lucky, they opened up 3-6. We're 2 planes behind the threshold where they opened, so we jumped on 3-6 and we were out of there and only waited 2 hours and 40 minutes, or maybe even close to 3 hours. Then we went south because of weather around Chicago, trying to head back to Boston. And we ended up at Kalb airport and actually witnessed a Mayday call and a Cessna going into the cornfield. So that was exciting and very, very happy to report that I think the people are okay. They made another call after they crash landed, but we literally were overflying the airport just as that was happening. We were landing on 20 and they called that they're landing on 02. So obviously that's not good. And then he reported a Mayday call. I believe it was an engine out. I checked on the news later on and they reported that 2 were transported to the hospital with minor injuries. So that was good. After that, beautiful flight home, 9,500 feet, VFR above the clouds. Felt like an airline pilot with the sun setting behind us. And again, great Oshkosh. Kind of sorry I didn't get to meet. I met a few people, but I didn't have my agenda really planned out that well. Steve Cox and I don't know, all these other people that I correspond with on the social media. Wanted to meet them, but definitely hung out in the RANS booth for a few and met some great people, and they're just awesome. So anyway, as Mike Patey would say, back to work. Yeah, I think I left off with these strips that I made at my shop, and so I'm going to glue those on. I'm probably going to chop this thing off because I don't really need that spacer, maybe add on to the strip. But before I do that, I was going to work on the cover to make sure I like the looks of it, and I literally have this. So I put little 45s in here because the top cover has rounded edges. I'm going to fade that into these edges, just gonna sand it. Same thing here, give it a little bit of a organic shape. But yeah, this is all chamfered out around the edge. That's cut out, it's not cleaned up yet. It literally fits so tight. This is all done with like table routers and table saws that it actually snaps in there. So gonna glue that, and then this piece will have the pad on it. That will get screwed in from the inside, and my net goes back in, and then the whole thing can be bolted together. The bottom half will be painted, the top will have a pad on it, and some alcantara wrapped around it, and well, let's see how it turns out. So I added another 30 seconds of ABS on that just to give the screws that hold it in a little more meat to hold, and I took the weight out with some lightning holes, and that's the lid. I'm going to use this Dynapad stuff. It seems to have a very memory foam-like consistency. I like the way it feels. This guy right here, I rounded this over just so it looks nice, and then next I'll be gluing that into the top of that, putting a pad on that. Oh yeah, and because I added these little corners in here so I can kind of round it over, I had to chamfer that out of here. I did that with the table saw too. So now all this literally clicks together, but it'll be glued. But real happy with the fit. That worked great. I used the jigsaw to cut the round part, then die grinder with a coarse thing just to give it a little round over. Now I'm gonna round. Sorry, didn't know it was running. All right, so that came out really nice. Really happy with that. I formed the foam rubber. It feels really nice. And the reason I like doing it this way is it prevents me from having to run any stitching in there. Underneath here, I just kind of made it really flush with soldering iron, and I'm going to put a little bit of CA glue on the inside and just use contact cement for the rest of it. All right, this piece came out awesome as well. I glued the top to that and finished it all in, filled it in with CA glue, sanded it. I rounded over this just so it's comfortable when you grab it. I rounded over the inside. This is where my little net goes. This is where the hinge bolts to. This is rounded, so when it comes up, it meets the baggage compartment. These are rounded, and yeah, let's put it together. Oh yeah, I like it. This looks fabulous. I love it. So you got a little net in here, put stuff in. That's my hinge. It's really comfortable. It's got some nice padding on top. Yeah, super stoked. So between paint drying and glue drying, I'm always jumping back and forth. I'm also working on this guy here. I cleaned out the inside here, rounded this over. I'm gonna paint the inside of this, and it's not ready for full paint, but at least it'll be like a guide coat, so I have an idea of where I need to fill and sand more. I added this little thing on here because there's a cutout and the piece adjacent to it to cover it. And then on the inside here, just so, because this is very thin, so the white and the black, so no cracks develop, I put, this is actually drywall tape, but it's like, you know, fiber reinforced tape. So I put that there, and on the inside there, and then just filled it up with CA glue, the thin stuff, so that makes it rock solid. This thing's pretty light, so I'll wait when I'm done. I don't know how much it adds to it, but I think it's worth it. So after all that, I forgot to put my fancy little divider strips on. I'm gonna do that now. Got my fancy divider strips on. You can see in the back here, that's where the alcantara goes. But deciding to paint this was, I think it's gonna look good. I'm not regretting it, but it was a little bit of a self-inflicted torture because I had set this all up for alcantara, even to the point where the cup holders just overlap just enough so you can catch the edge. But this would have been so much easier to just, well, as far as having to finish it. But I got it to this point. Been a long day, like 14 hours on this today. And I'm gonna bring it to the shop tomorrow and sand it, prime it, paint it. And hopefully it'll look really good. Good night. All right, I'm at the shop. I threw some high build primer surfacer on it. And honestly, most of that's gonna get sanded off because I'm not a big fan of different color primers underneath. Black paint going onto black plastic kind of defeats the consistency of the blackness, if that makes any sense. I know this is white up here, and I got a couple of pinholes I got to deal with, so fun. Remember that little overhang I was talking about that was supposed to be absorbed by the alcantara that bothered me? I know it's petty, but nothing a router can't fix. Like promised, most of the white is gone. I did actually get overzealous and put another coat of black paint on it, but yeah, I did sand most of it off and it's coming out really nice. All right, I'm back home. I noticed one small problem that I thought might arise. This is ABS plastic. In here is a side piece of PVC that I originally used just as a spacer when I was going to wrap the whole thing. Now the paint is taken differently to the PVC. Also, the air pockets inside there are causing some issues. Worst case scenario, I'll have to cut the whole thing out and replace this strip with ABS plastic, or I'll try to futz with it a little bit and see if I get it to look good. Then on another note, I had this little lip up front here to cover this cutout, which you need to get that out. And just kind of thinking to myself, it'd be cool to run this strip all the way around the front. So in the interest of making my life more miserable and putting more time into this console, I did that. But I think it kind of ties it all in, looks good. All right, and here's the strip that ties, little bumper strip it looks like, that ties that all in. So yeah, these are the guides in here that go next to the metal of the flap handle, and kind of just glued it and sanded it all together. So I did sand this, and I'll paint it again before I cut it out, but I think that's gonna have to come out. All right, here's a better shot. I hit it with the heat gun to try and over exaggerate the issue that I'm having with the PVC versus the ABS. So I hit this pretty good. I think I'm gonna sand it down and then coat it with CA glue and finish it off again. The rest of it looks awesome. Kind of a bummer, but oh well. I'd rather fix it now than after it's all good. There it is. I just stuck it in there. Got my little audio jack panel in there, put some labels on it, didn't put the Limo plugs in yet. That's not snapped in yet, and the cup holders are not snapped in yet. Really happy with the way the paint came out. This little divider strip looks like it belongs. I'm happy with that. Once the seats are in and this front panel's in, I think it'll all tie together. Now I'm going to cover this in alcantara, and my crazy thought is like, okay, I like the console, way too complicated. How can I make a simpler one? So I'm toying with the idea of just tracing the side pieces, keeping this straight, and putting two cup holders and a lid of some sort, probably not without these cutouts. Just a simplified version. I might make that for my brother. So, because this was too much work. It was fun, but it's too much work. And for those wondering, the raw console weighs in at 2 pounds, 1.5 ounces. And obviously that doesn't include the lid or any of the electronic stuff on it. That will probably add another pound or two. But all in all, pretty lightweight considering all the behind the scenes plastics that's in there. All right, I got the alcantara on. That went pretty smooth. My little idea was sticking it in the groove underneath there. That worked out just fabulous. And that's it for finishing it. Yeah, time to assemble it and put it in. Wait up, hold up. First I gotta put the riv nuts in to hold the center console, and while I did that, I put 4 more to put a little storage net on the passenger side. Yes, I did tear all the material off. There it is in all its glory. Can't believe it's finally done, but I really like the way it came out. Fits real nice around here. That fits really nice. These I put little felt on it because they were loose since I didn't wrap it in alcantara. Inside here we got a little pocket for stuff. I put a little felt on there so the paint doesn't wear off when it's closed. You can put your Bose tumors in there, and yeah, the idea is just that basically cockpit stays neat. You just have a cable with your headset coming out. This hinge was probably unnecessary, but I like the way it stays, tension hinge in any direction. This was a good idea, the way that comes out. This does go to the bottom. I know on the RANS one, just the back part does, but like I said, I figured the more you can protect the cables, the better off you are. I put this thing in here, put some stuff in there, but yeah, I think this is going to conclude the final episode of the center console video. Hopefully this won't be too long, and hopefully you guys find it interesting. I can't think of anything else I can do to this. Oh yeah, actually I do. I could put a little light in here. Might still do that. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Enjoy it. I'm certainly having fun. Got a lot of cool feedback at Oshkosh. And thanks for the compliments. Bye.